of Islam. So the Kagan was like, all right, well, if that's the case, then we all going to be Hebrews. So then the Muslims said, well, you can't be a Hebrew because you're not from the original blood. But we can give you an aspect of Hebrewism that we'll call Judaism for you. And so they adopted Judaism as their situation to get them brought back into the human family, okay? And so they adopted this, and then what that did was that put them in league or under the Hebrew Moors, who at the time were running everything out of Cordoba and España, Spain over there, as well as parts of, well, mostly all of Spain. So that kind of put them under that. So that means then that they were able to then use their position and pay the Ashkenazim converts now to basically attack other people on their behalf. And so the Kagan got a lot of money from that over the years. So eventually, after the fall of Granada and these things happened, a lot of those Moors who were, i.e. what we'll call Hebrews, that I'll call Canaanitic, they then were able to use a lot of these Ashkenazims, right, who 800 years before had converted to this version of that version of Judaism, to give them the right now to set up what's called little pogroms. These pogroms in Europe is another way of saying ghetto. And these little pogroms where these Ashkenazims was at, they were now functioning under their own version of Judaism, which is why they started to speak, they couldn't speak the original Hebrew because that's not their original language. So what they had to do is they had to learn how to speak Hebrew.
Yiddish.
This is where Yiddish came from. So because their natural tongue was that, they basically adopted the Yiddish thing into that. Now, Yiddish is totally different than Hebrew. That's why Jews have to go to Hebrew school to learn how to be Hebrew, because they're really not Hebrews. They are converted into that. So once they converted into that, they created their own little societies in which they started to protect and started to build up equity in their communities by creating a system called usury. That usury became the reason why a lot of them started to become outcast by the general society at play, because they were charging exorbitant amounts of interest on anybody that wasn't technically considered a Jew. But again, you can't really be a Jew because the Jews were converted, you remember, by the true Hebrews, who themselves really were Muslim Canaanites. So a lot got